Hello there, welcome back to Rise and Shine on a Monday morning. We promised you somebody who needs no introduction. He needs no introduction to any Sri Lankan by far. Well, he's somebody that I have enjoyed watching seated down at the BMICH. I've been there so many times just to listen to him get on stage. He needs no introduction, not at all on Rupavahini. And we could call him the platinum voice, not the golden voice, a platinum voice of Sri Lankan showbiz. A very good morning to Dr. Vijaya Corea.
Very, very good morning to you.
Good morning, good morning. It's a joy to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure for me to be seated right here this morning. Rukshan, good morning to you. Rukshan's been nice enough to come on the show to accompany Dr. Vijaya Corea this morning.
And it's a pleasure to be here with you all.
We're seeing Rukshan after about a year, aren't we? So, Dr. Vijaya Corea, how have things been since the recent past? You've been on the show before, so from last time to now.
Well, it's from last time to now, it's just that time has been flying and we're almost at the end of another year. And life has been as good and exciting as it can be. That's for me.
How has the festive season been for you?
Well, the festive season really just came and went just like that.
Amazing. And you know, when you have the privilege and the honor of actually sitting next to a legend and meeting up with a legend, you know, that feeling, do you know how it feels like? And I'm feeling like,
I feel like a groupie right now. I feel like an absolute groupie right now. So we're going to get into conversation. We have a lot to talk about today, as we're going to start with Dr. Vijaya Corea from his school days. We're going to ask him a little bit about way back in time, about school days.
School days? Well, I started going to a school down a road which then was called Flower Road, and that's Ladies' College. And from the kindergarten, I was there right up to the second standard. I could have gone up to the fifth standard. They allowed it at that time. Some of those who were with me did go up to that. But my class teacher sent for my mother one day and said, I think it is time you put this boy into a boys' school. And so don't ask me why, but that was something good that happened to me. Because as a result, I went in early enough to St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia, and spent 11 whole years there. And that was a great time, yes.
Well, we come from opposing camps now, that much I've established.
But unlike poles attract, you know.
Being at St. Thomas's, what was the experience like? Because we know what St. Thomas is like. Just tell everybody a little bit about your experience back at St. Thomas's.
Well, it used to be fun in the sense that outside of the class, you always looked for nothing but fun. And I remember one day before the Royal Tomian match, there was a classmate of mine called P.N. Pereira. He was a degree more mischievous than I was, and he quietly slipped out of the class, and he went and he rang the bell, which should have gone off at 12 o'clock at 11:30, and so there was panic and pandemonium there, but everybody rushed out and got away early that day.
Well, that's Vijay Corea during his school times and how mischievous he was. But let's ask him, did you always think when you were in school that this is where you want to be today? Did you want to get into entertainment? Was that your passion?
Well, that certainly was not in my heart or mind, strangely, except that I loved music. I used to go for films, and you asked me about school days. I just got reminded. For a short while, I was in a boarding of one of the masters called J.H.S. Furious at Barnes Avenue. And one day, I got a little mischievous, and I said to some of my other mates who were there, lights out at 9 o'clock there. So I said, why don't we keep that front door open? And why don't we creep out of this place and walk down to the Odeon, which is the nearest theatre, and watch a movie. First there were shudders, but later I managed to motivate them, and we did end up seeing the 9:30 show at the Odeon, seated in the gallery, paying 50 cents for the ticket at that time. And when it was over, we walked down Barnes Avenue, not knowing whether we had got caught, what had happened, or what on earth it was. But finally, we managed to get back and get into bed and sleep off and wake up early morning at 5 o'clock and go to school, and the rest of it like nothing else. Well, I left that boarding, and having gone to the Odeon, I managed to take my mates as far down as to Bumblebee, to the Majestic one day. And the film was Little Hut with Ava Gardner, and we took that double-decker bus back and shaped off. But see, after I left the boarding, my mates got so used to this that they continued the practice until one day they got caught. And this teacher sent for me, during a lunch interval and said, "Do you think I don't know what you've been doing?" And I said, "Sir?" And then he says, "This is what you did, then this is what you did." And I looked at him like I don't know what he's talking about. Yeah, no, you asked me something else and I diverted, didn't I?
We were asking you whether entertainment was always a passion.
Yes. Strangely, not at all. Entertainment was, music was. In my home, I only heard classical music because my father played violin, my mother passed to ATC when she was 16. And then I went to college and heard all the pop songs, and I was quite happy with all of that. But as for, if you like, announcing, presenting, comparing, never thought of it at all. So I was into chartered accountancy, and while I was in chartered accountancy, I happened to visit a cousin of mine at the radio station. He was a program assistant, and he was waiting to produce a program that Saturday afternoon. And there was an American guest on that show. For some inexplicable reason, he did not turn up that day. And then my cousin said, "What do I do now? I'm 10 minutes away from the recording." "I tell you what," he said, "you stand in and you do this." I said, no, I had never gone before a microphone, I can't do it. Well, to cut a long story short, I ended up standing in. And then the next thing was to go home and listen to the recording. When I heard the playback, the recording on the air, two things struck me. One, my voice sounded just like my father's, because he used to give medical talks on the air. The second thing is, I said to myself, "Hey, that's not bad. That sounded good." And then the liking for it arose. And so from there, I proceeded to visit my cousin the very next weekend. And I said, "Now I don't mind." He said, No. I can't do that. That was an exigency. I can't put just anybody on the air like that. Besides, this guy will be coming now, and there it is. So then finally I spoke to my father, who knew the director at that time, Livy Vijamana. And Livy Vijamana was my father's patient. So he spoke to him and said, "I don't know what this is, but my son, he wants to go on the air. So if it is possible, ask him to come and see me." So I went and saw him, and he told my cousin, "That's okay, put him on." And then came a vacancy for relief announcing, and 350 applied. I also applied in the year 1964, when none of you were
Born.
yes. And then finally they boiled it down to 15, and then to 5, and then was still not sure, whether in or out. Again, I told my cousin, "Do you think you can check what has happened?" And he went to the administration and he came back with thumbs up like that. And he said, "You have come on top of the list by a long chalk." So that began my broadcasting career.
How did you feel when you were selected out of 350?
Yeah.
Oh, it felt really good. You have a kind of a joy, you know. And then after some time, having gone on there within 6 months, I got my first commercial program, the sponsored program. That brought me some, what we used to call lolly at that time, okay? And then another program, and then another, and then another. And then, you know, the income, I finally found out, was more than what I would have earned as a chartered accountant at that time. Because the salary of a chartered accountant in the year 1964 was 1,500 rupees. So I was earning more than that. And then came the comparing times. And with the dances and the shows and all of that, I was able to have a comfortable living. And see, the thing is, I enjoyed doing what I was doing. And I can say this to anybody, and that is, you got to like what you're doing and do what you like.
Oh, yes.
Then it works.
Well, that is a wonder of doing a job like this. If you love what you're doing, you are in your zone.
Oh, yes.